The 7th of December 1941. 8 a.m. Pearl Harbor is a war zone. The attack is still ongoing. Japanese planes scream overhead. Bombs are still falling. Fires rage everywhere. But amidst the chaos and devastation, something remarkable is happening. Ordinary men, sailors, soldiers, civilians are doing extraordinary things. They're not trained for heroism. They're not looking for glory. But when circumstances demand it, they rise to the occasion. This is the story of the heroes of Pearl Harbor, the men who emerged from the chaos and became legends. Not all of them survived. Not all of them were recognized during their lifetime. But their actions changed the course of the war and inspired generations to come. This is part 4 of the Pearl Harbor story, Heroes in the Chaos. Doris Miller is not supposed to be a hero. Born in Waco, Texas in 1919, Miller is an African American. In 1941, the United States Navy doesn't allow black sailors to serve in combat roles. It's called segregation, and it's policy. So Miller is assigned to the USS West Virginia's kitchen. He washes dishes. He serves food. He collects laundry from officers' cabins. He's a mess attendant. That's his job. That's all he's allowed to do. At 7:55 a.m. on the 7th of December 1941, the general quarters alarm sounds aboard the USS West Virginia. Miller hears the explosions. He feels the ship shaking. He could hide. As a mess attendant, he's not required to fight. But Miller doesn't hide. Instead, he climbs topside. What he sees shocks him. The ship is under attack. Men are screaming. Blood is everywhere. Miller starts helping. He carries wounded sailors to the medical station. He helps move ammunition for the gun crews. Then something unprecedented happens. A 50 caliber anti-aircraft gun on the ship's superstructure loses its crew gunners killed or wounded in the attack. An officer, seeing Miller nearby and recognizing his strength and determination, shouts, "Miller, can you man that gun?" Miller has never been trained to use an anti-aircraft gun. He's never fired anything heavier than a pistol. But he doesn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." Miller sprints to the gun. He watches how it works for just a moment, then takes his position. Japanese planes are diving toward the USS West Virginia. Miller starts firing. Boom, boom, boom. He doesn't aim scientifically. He doesn't have formal training, but he has instinct and determination. He aims where the planes are going, not where they are. And he starts hitting them. For the next 15 minutes, Miller stands at that gun and fires relentlessly at Japanese aircraft overhead. He's calm, focused. Despite the chaos around him, despite the bombs falling and the ship shaking, Miller is laser-focused on one job: bring down as many Japanese planes as possible. Other sailors watch in amazement. This mess, attendant, this man who isn't supposed to be fighting, is engaging the enemy with more skill and courage than some trained gunners. Miller downs at least one Japanese plane. Some witnesses say 2, maybe 3. He keeps firing until he runs out of ammunition. Then an officer orders him to abandon ship. Miller climbs down from the gun and helps evacuate other sailors. Later, he's rescued from the harbor. Doris Miller survived Pearl Harbor, and more importantly, his actions that day changed Navy policy. After Pearl Harbor, the Navy realized it couldn't afford to waste skilled fighting men just because of their race. Miller becomes the first African American to receive the Navy Cross, one of the highest military honors. His heroism breaks a barrier that had stood for decades. But Miller's story doesn't end happily. He survives Pearl Harbor, only to be killed in action in November 1943, fighting for a country that still doesn't fully recognize his rights. Yet his legacy lives on a symbol of courage, transcending race, of ordinary men doing extraordinary things. Captain Mervyn Bennion is 54 years old. He's been in the Navy for most of his adult life. He's experienced, respected, and beloved by his crew. At 7:55 a.m., when the general quarters alarm sounds, Bennion is in his cabin getting dressed. He immediately climbs to the bridge, the command center of the USS West Virginia. What he sees is catastrophic. His ship is being torn apart. Torpedoes are slamming into the port side. Fires are breaking out everywhere. But Bennion doesn't panic. He's a professional. He starts coordinating damage control efforts, trying to save his ship. Damage control parties report. He shouts. Reports come in. Water flooding compartment 3. Fire in the engine room. Casualties mounting. Bennion calmly gives orders, trying to minimize the damage, trying to keep his ship afloat. Then, at 8:03 a.m., a fragment of shrapnel from a nearby explosion tears through the bridge. It hits Captain Bennion in the abdomen. He's grievously wounded. Blood pours from the wound. His chief yeoman rushes to help him. "Captain, you're hit. Let me take you to medical." But Bennion refuses. "No," he says, his voice steady despite the pain. "I'll stay here. There's still time." He continues giving orders, continues fighting to save his ship. Minutes pass. The USS West Virginia takes more and more hits. Water floods into lower compartments. The ship is sinking. Bennion knows his ship is going down. He knows he's dying. But he stays on the bridge. He refuses to leave his post. "I'm going down with my ship," he tells his officers. One of his men tries to drag him away. "Sir, we have to get you to safety." But Bennion refuses. He stands at the helm, continues giving orders, right up until he collapses from blood loss. He dies on the bridge of his ship. Captain Mervyn Bennion receives the Medal of Honor posthumously for his actions that day. His last act was duty. His last thought was his ship and his crew. He represents the highest ideals of military service: loyalty, courage, sacrifice. Inside the capsized USS Oklahoma, hundreds of men are trapped in complete darkness. The ship rolled so fast that many didn't have time to escape. Now they're inside sealed compartments, surrounded by rising water. They bang on the steel hull with hammers and wrenches. "Help! Is anybody out there? We're in here. Help us!" Outside, on the harbour, rescue workers hear the banging. They know men are trapped inside. A decision is made. We're going to cut them out. Rescue crews deploy acetylene torches, cutting equipment that uses intense heat to slice through metal. The heat is intense. The work is backbreaking. But the crews are determined. Cut, cut, cut. The smell of burning metal fills the air. Sparks fly. Other sailors stand by with axes and pry bars, ready to widen the hole once it's cut through. The pressure is immense. Inside, water is rising. Men are running out of air. Every second counts. Finally, after hours of cutting and prying, a hole opens in the Oklahoma's hull. A man's head emerges, gasping for air. "Help me! Please!" Workers grab him and pull him out. He collapses on the hull, choking and coughing, but alive. Another man climbs out, and another, but not all compartments can be reached in time. Some ceiling is too tight. The water rises too fast. Over 400 men from the USS Oklahoma die, but dozens more survive because of the rescue crew's desperate efforts. These rescue workers don't wear medals. They don't make the history books, but they're heroes nonetheless. They risked their own lives in the water, with Japanese planes still attacking overhead, trying to save men trapped inside a sinking ship. Their actions represent the best of human compassion: strangers, risking everything to help strangers. Not all Americans at Pearl Harbor are passive victims. Some fight back. On the airfields of Hickam Field and Wheeler Field, American pilots scramble to get into the air. It's chaotic. The airfields are under attack. Japanese planes are strafing the runways. Many American planes are destroyed, on the ground, but a few pilots manage to get airborne. Second Lieutenant George Welch is one of them. Welch is a young pilot, daring, quick-thinking, and skilled. He doesn't wait for orders. He doesn't follow protocol. He just gets into his P-40 Warhawk and takes off. Within minutes, he's in the air, intercepting Japanese aircraft. He shoots down one, then another, then another. His wingman, Kenneth Taylor, is right beside him, doing the same. Together, Welch and Taylor shoot down at least 7 Japanese aircraft during the attack. They're vastly outnumbered dozens of Japanese planes against 2 American fighters. But Welch and Taylor are skilled, they're determined, and they're angry. This is their home being attacked. These are their brothers in arms dying down below. They fight like men possessed. They can't stop the attack. The attack is already underway, and the Japanese have overwhelming numbers. But they can exact a price. They can bring down enemy aircraft. They can show the Japanese that America can fight back. Welch and Taylor survive the attack and become the heroes of the sky. Later in the war, Welch will shoot down 16 Japanese aircraft total, making him one of America's top aces. His actions at Pearl Harbor on that first day, when everything seemed lost, prove that Americans won't go down without a fight. These are the heroes of Pearl Harbor: Doris Miller, Mervyn Bennion, the rescue workers, and the pilots. They came from different backgrounds, different races, different walks of life. What they had in common was courage, and when circumstances demanded it, they answered the call. They didn't ask to be heroes. Heroism wasn't their job, but they rose to the occasion anyway. Some of them survived, some of them died. All of them changed the course of history. Pearl Harbor was America's darkest day, but it was also a day that revealed the best of the American spirit, ordinary men doing extraordinary things when their country needed them most. So, here's the question. What defines a hero? Is it courage? Is it duty? Is it sacrifice? Or is it something deeper, the willingness to put country before self, to risk everything for those you serve with? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want the final chapter, How America Rose from the Ashes and Defeated Japan, subscribe now, because this is part 4 of 5. And the final chapter is about redemption, recovery, and revenge. See you in part 5, America's Response.